The rapid collapse of the Soviet Union was influenced by a multitude of factors, with internal corruption and the emergence of a privileged class playing significant roles. This elite, into vampires, drained the state's resources, much like how the Ming Dynasty's imperial family was accused of incurring vast expenses. The comparison between the Soviet Union and the Ming Dynasty highlights striking similarities, particularly concerning the extravagant living conditions afforded to royalty. Just as the Ming Dynasty's emperors, such as Zhu Yuanzhang, the founder, prioritized their family's welfare, the Soviet system also bestowed immense privileges upon its leaders' descendants. Zhu Yuanzhang, born into poverty, understood the hardships of life without sustenance, leading him to enact strict policies against corrupt officials while showering his relatives with wealth and power. His strategy involved granting titles and substantial territories to his sons, allowing them to govern autonomously within their realms. This arrangement, intended to ensure prosperity for the royal lineage, paradoxically laid the groundwork for future challenges. Similarly, the Soviet Union's leadership extended similar benefits to its members, fostering a culture of entitlement and extravagance. This generosity came at a high cost, draining state resources at an alarming rate. The exponential growth of the royal lineage from a single individual to potentially hundreds of thousands of people over to centuries overwhelmed the state's capacity to sustain such a lavish lifestyle. In the Ming Dynasty's case, the financial burden became unsustainable, leading to discontent among the populace and eventually contributing to the empire's downfall. The parallels drawn between the Soviet Union and the Ming Dynasty underscore the critical lesson that unchecked privilege and the inability to manage the costs associated with it can lead to systemic failure. The Soviet Union's collapse, therefore, serves as a cautionary tale on the importance of balancing the needs of the state with the expectations of its elites, highlighting the potential risks of allowing a privileged class to grow beyond the state's fiscal capabilities. During the height of the Cold War, the Soviet Union boasted a population close to 300 million, nearly on par with the United States. The Soviet Union's expenditure on military affairs was substantial, equipping it with an impressive arsenal, 500,000 tanks, 500,000 artillery pieces, and 500,000 aircraft, casting a shadow over Europe and instilling fear about potential invasion. The fortress was ultimately breached from within. The reason? A vast elite emerged. It was estimated that the Soviet Union had around 10-20 million officials enjoying privileges, along with their families totaling over 100 million people. These privileges were earned, and even after Gorbachev became a member of the Politburo, he noted how his lifestyle changed, including the provision of a villa in the suburbs and a state car. The Soviet elite could also indulge in special supplies. Due to the government's heavy investment in heavy and military industries, there was a significant lack of funding for light industry. Despite having Ukraine as a breadbasket, food shortages were common, necessitating the purchase of food on the international market at considerable expense. And queuing became a daily norm for Soviet citizens, waiting in long lines for essentials like bread, butter, milk, consumer goods. A joke even circulated, suggesting that the Soviet Union would soon have planes for every household, leading to amusement but also highlighting the hardships faced by ordinary citizens. The Soviet elite enjoyed special provisions, such as exclusive stores offering imported goods at significantly reduced prices. This created a stark contrast between the privileged few and the struggling masses. The existence of this privileged class not only drained national resources but also fueled public discontent. Quaking culture, where citizens spent hours waiting for basic necessities, stood in stark contrast to the ease with which the elite acquired luxury items. This situation mirrored the decline of the Ming Dynasty, where a large bureaucracy squandered resources. The privileged class's extravagance and the disparity between their lifestyle and that of the populace contributed significantly to the Soviet Union's eventual collapse. The elite's privileges, funded by the common people, exacerbated social unrest. As the Soviet Union disintegrated, few lamented its continuation, reflecting the profound disillusionment with the ruling class.